All right. Well, we already did the TIF meeting at 5,
That you did.
and that went as smoothly as it could. I'd like to call the village board meeting to order. Roll call, please.
President Byrne?
Here.
Trustee Cook?
Here?
Trustee Schwartz?
Here.
Trustee Williams?
Here.
Trustee Hebda?
Here.
Trustee Schultz?
Here.
Trustee Marquardt?
Here.
We have a quorum present. Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. All right. Are there any citizens that wish to address the board tonight? Okay, we have Aaron
Yes.
Lawler, right?
Yes.
Even with my glasses off, I know who he is. You know.
Thank you, Aaron Lawler.
Because he doesn't dye his hair. You know. Hey, I'm only kidding here.
Well, we can get into that
Oh,
later.
yeah, whatever. I don't care.
Aaron Lawler, Chairman of the County Board. I just wanted to come back and report to you on the poll for the automatic meter reader that we discussed last month at Greg's Parkway in Huntington. I went back, spoke to our staff. I hadn't been briefed on that issue and was able to get that taken out as an option for our automatic meter reading system. They're going to be able to do what we need to do without that poll entirely. And if we have any changes, we'll bring that back to the board.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Well, does that mean we're not going to have a new light there?
We won't be doing anything with it.
I know.
Yeah. So you could put a new light there.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, Dave. Do we still need a light there?
We have a budget process coming up, and I'll put that on the list.
I mean, because that's on the golf course side of everything there, right?
This would be located at Huntington and Greg's Parkway. The light, very likely, if we do elect to move forward with that, would be at the northeast corner. Be a shoebox style that illuminates the intersection better than the ornamental decorative lights that we have
It'd
along
be at
here.
the northeast corner where there's no houses.
Absolutely.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That would be, that's where the golf course is.
Exactly. Exactly.
You that only plays Frisbee golf. Oh, that's right. You play Frisbee dodgeball, right?
All of the above.
Right, good night, Joyce.
Okay. All right. What I'm saying is that you don't have to, Aaron, you can leave if you want. So, you know, but in essence, okay. But I mean, more lighting there wouldn't be bad, you know, when the weather gets inclement and, you know.
We think more lighting would be a good thing.
Is that still a location for a light? Traffic light?
No, although it did meet warrants, we do not think there's a benefit of adding a traffic signal at that location.
Okay.
It just barely met the warrants.
Okay.
So.
All right. Okay. All right. Are there any other citizens that wish to address the board? If not, next village board meeting scheduled for Wednesday, November 5th. Is that okay with everybody? Okay. Finance Director, NACRN Comprehensive Annual Financial Report and Management Letter.
In your packet is the comprehensive annual financial report. It shows that on a GAAP basis, our fund balance for our governmental funds increased by $176,000, with the best fund in terms of improvement was the TIF, which increased by $678,000. The MFT fund increased by $128,000.
Larry, can you talk into the mic?
I'm sorry.
Is this good stuff or bad stuff?
This is good stuff.
Okay, well then talk into the mic. will you?
Okay, sorry. The comprehensive annual financial report is included in the packet. It shows that for governmental funds, they overall increased by $177,000. Best performing among them was the TIF, which increased by $678,000. The motor fuel tax fund increased by $129,000. The dispatch fund decreased by 13,000, say 13,000 rounding. And the general fund, on a GAAP basis, decreased by 617,000. GAAP is generally accepted accounting principles. However, on a cash basis, the general fund increased by 918,000, and that was because of the repayment of the TIF loan and the YMCA loan, which did not improve our accrued balances, but they did improve our cash position. Now, in FY 13-14, we prepaid 1.49 million of the 2004 bond. Basically, we retired it early. And if we had not done that, then actually our general fund GAAP balance would have increased by about 870,000, and our cash balance would have increased by about 2.4 million. So instead, we used some of that buildup in cash to retire the 2004 bond, basically reducing our debt service burden in the future. Net position is another way to view the village. This includes depreciation expenses. It fell about 718,000, which is improvement from last year's $1 million decline, but a lot of that has to do with the way the roads are accounted for, and at this point we're in a phase where we're depreciating the roads, but we're seeing improvements due to the TIF. Also included in your packet is the management letter. Talks about next year we'll be implementing GASB 68, which is basically putting pension fund liabilities in a more prominent position. I think we've been fairly proactive in this area, so it'll have, while it'll affect our balance sheet, it'll have less of an effect than
But this is principally for the police officers?
well, it's police, it's IMRF.
Yeah, but what do we put in for IMRF?
We put in about $500,000, but the issue is the liability, and on a market basis, depending on how what happens to the Dow in the next 70 days, we should end up with the IMRF close to 100% funded, at least on a market value.
But what we invest in is pretty conservative.
Yes, it's conservative, but it does include we are about 2/3 in equities in the police pension fund, but it's not conservative like all government bonds, but it's not a risky. It's a well diversified.
What is it like companies that have been paying dividends for 25 years?
That's a large piece of our strategy. We're diversified among growth, value, large, mid cap, and we tend to look toward basically companies that have income, that have dividends, and stay away from the more speculative type investments.
Right. Is that about it?
Yeah, that's about it. There's a couple more comments in the management letter, but I think
now what happened with the YMCA? We got money
what's been happening with
paid back to us?
Right. The original deal was they wouldn't pay for the first 3 years, but developer donations would go toward the repayment of the loan. And with the development of the Oaks, both in FY 13-14 and we see a similar effect in FY 14-15, about half the loan's been paid off.
So that's good, right?
Oh, that's excellent, yeah.
That's what I was hoping you were going to say.
Yeah.
So what split went to, did anything go to the Park District?
The original plan was that, or agreement was that it would be split 50-50, and that's what happened initially. We were kind of in the process of reworking with the Park District. Their preference is that 100% go toward the retirement of the YMCA.
All right, so, okay, so out of the $2 million, there's $1 million been paid back.
Yeah,
And there's more to come.
yeah, more to come.
Okay. So this was okay for us to loan the money to the
Right.
Park District.
Right. This,
Okay.
this is, you know, I think one of the points I'd like to emphasize is there's a difference between a loan and an expenditure, and this was a loan.
Exactly.
And,
Right. However,
yeah.
okay. All right, well, that's good. That's nice to hear. All right, fine. Is that about it? Anybody have any questions or, all right. Okay, since I was turning pages there. All right, Public Works Director, nope, yeah, Public Works Director, Dave Brown.
He's got
So
that
does-
four-letter word in here.
Oh,
Oh,
the snow plow plan.
yeah.
Thank-
Okay, what am I concerned about? I don't have to worry about that.
Mother mercy. Yeah, you don't have to leave the house
I don't
anymore.
have to leave the house anymore.
You know, we got a lot of movies.
Yeah, right.
I'll call you just to give you updates, just to make sure.
Yeah, please.
Thank you. Just wanted to advise the board, we are ready for another winter, whatever ends up being here, we're prepared. We've got 650 to 700 tons of salt already in our bins. We've ordered 500 tons more, hoping for the delivery. We order it prior to November 1, so therefore we get a couple dollar discount per ton, so we're taking advantage of that. Yeah, we've met, our staff has met, and we've went over the snow plan. We'll bring that back to the board with more detail. Really, it's the same plan that you've approved previously, but we are moving more towards the use of de-icing prior to storms and using beet juice. We did it last year. We're going to continue that, and that's the wave of the future, using less salt and trying other alternatives. In the board packet, there's, on the consent agenda, there's resolutions for our various contractors. That's Resolution 2014-166, so that is on the consent agenda. I'm recommending that we do approve that. A lot of the contracts are smaller contracts that we coordinate with the townhome snow provider. Essentially, whoever the homeowners associations use to plow their driveways and take care of their sidewalks, we try to hire them to do some of the public streets within that area, so it's more seamless. The largest of the snow contracts is Martin and Associates. They've proposed, again, to have a 3-year extended contract.
Yeah.
I think they've done a good job for us. They provide some delivery services that are very difficult for us to try to do with our bigger trucks.
Yeah.
So those are the cul-de-sacs. You'll see that the first year they're proposing 3.4% increase, and then after that, the next 2 years is 0%. That 3.4% increase is because we've added 2 additional cul-de-sacs to it. So, you know, the 3.4% isn't as accurate. It doesn't amount. I think it amounts to like $140. They typically charge us about $52 to $54 per cul-de-sac. So
Are we able to, you know, assist any of these subcontractors with storing salt or, you know what I mean, at their locations and all that, or?
we work with our largest contractor, James Martin and Associates.
Yeah.
So we deliver salt for them. They do the plowing. We supply the salt. When we had, was it 3 years ago, when we had too much salt and we were trying to figure out how,
Right.
whether we tarp it, et cetera, they actually stored salt for us, and we, you know, are working with them too.
Right. Well, that's, you know, well, that's good, right?
Yeah, it's been, I think it's been a good relationship. They know our streets. They've learned the customer service that's necessary and what we demand. So, for what it's worth, that's my presentation. There is a resolution on the consent agenda.
Okay, all right, thanks. All
One-
right.
one quick
Oh,
question.
yeah, yes. Trustee Schultz.
Any rookies this year on snowplow drivers? Last year was outstanding. I mean, you had a fully trained crew. They probably, most of them got at least 2 or 3 years, if not more. So just curious about the training for anyone new.
Yeah, we do have, we are becoming more and more reliant on seasonal snowplow drivers. We probably have 3 new drivers help and support us. We've asked them before the snow hits that they drive their routes. They've went through training with us, so they know our streets, our equipment. They have their CDLs.
Okay. All right. All right, is there a motion to approve the omnibus vote agenda, items A through L?
So made.
Second.
There's a motion, it's second. Anything, comments, questions, or anything need to be pulled? If not, roll call, please.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, unfinished additional business, approval of Kemper voucher list of bills dated October 21st, 2014, in the amount of $10,878.45.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Comments, questions? If not, roll call.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz?
Abstain.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
For the record, I'd vote aye. Motion carries. Approval and passage of Resolution 2014-168, a resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement between the village and the county of Lake, Illinois, to install 2 microwave antennas on the police department monopole located at 740 Lakeview Parkway.
Mr. President, the village has received a request from the Lake County ETSB to place these microwave antennas on our 100-foot monopole. Lake County ETSB currently provides access to a number of communities to their CAD system. One of those communities is Countryside Fire, who dispatches for several other entities. Lake County is in the process of upgrading and updating their system, and currently that the CAD system for the fire department is connected by a very expensive wireline telephone line. They would like to eliminate that telephone line and add the microwave dishes to our tower. They're requesting use of the space on our 100-foot monopole, as we mentioned, to mount those things to establish the required connection for Countryside. Under this proposal, there's no funds would be exchanging of hands. We would just lend them the space.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion is second. Under comments or questions, I mean, it's obviously the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. All right, roll call.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, Chief. Approval and passage of ordinance 2014-041, an ordinance amending Chapter 17 of the Vernon Hills Code of Ordinances to create Article 5, Administrative Procedure to determine eligibility under the Public Safety Employee Benefits Act. Does anybody want to explain this one?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd be happy to.
Were you anticipating this question?
Yes. As you will recall, in 2011, the village adopted a standalone resolution, being 2011-139, which basically established the policies and procedures, application and granting of the benefits under what is known as the Public Safety Employment or Employee Benefit Act, or PSEBA, as it's shortly known. As you know, PSEBA requires a municipality to pay the full cost of health insurance for a former police officer or firefighter or his or her family if that employee was catastrophically injured in the line of duty while responding to what he or she reasonably believed to be an emergency. The purpose behind the statute is to ensure that those who are severely injured while protecting the public do not lose their medical insurance due to the fact that they cannot be employed. Since the creation of the standalone ordinance, a series of court cases have occurred which will require the amendment of the current resolution as attached in your packet. In working with both Bob and Keith Hunt, we've prepared Ordinance 2014-041 for your consideration. Basically, what this ordinance does is it replaces in its entirety the former resolution and amends Chapter 17 of the Village Code, which is the police section of the code, and places the PSEBA requirements in the new Article 5 of that section, or that chapter of the code. Basically, everything that was in the original resolution is being brought into this new ordinance. We've also added 4 additional items that are very much procedural in matter, or in their application. Basically, it requires that an application must be filled with my office within 30 days of a pension claim being filed, or within 30 days of the adoption of this proposed ordinance. It requires that upon receipt of the completed application, that the village manager within 30 days shall review the application and supporting documents to make an initial determination as to whether a hearing is required to determine whether benefits should be granted, or set the matter for a hearing, or enter other findings with regards to the application. One thing to note here is that if a hearing is required, a hearing officer will be selected by the mayor with concurrence of the village board. The final 2 items would be require that if the benefits are granted by the village manager, that the applicant would be contacted and directed to talk to the finance department with regards for processing of that application, and then moving forward to begin receipt of the benefits. And then finally, requires that if there is an administrative hearing, that the applicant is required to provide a certified court reporter to be in attendance at that meeting at their own cost, and will provide the village a transcript of that meeting within 14 days. Again, basically, we have to have a process in place to be able to process this type of application. This ordinance is updated and reflects current law at this time, and therefore it is recommended for approval as submitted in your packet.
Well, I guess collectively, we got to step away from the curb here. Is this something that's we can do, or is this something that we can do, through state statute, or is this we can just do this through local ordinance?
Well, I'll have Bob answer that.
We are doing this pursuant to an Illinois appellate court case that Hoffman Estates was engaged in, where Hoffman Estates is a home rule community just like Vernon Hills, and they had established a procedure, and the court found that the procedure, that a home rule community can establish its own procedure for these PSEBA determinations. So we've crafted this in large part based on the Hoffman Estates ordinance that passed muster, but also inclusive of the procedure we had previously adopted. So it's pursuant to case law.
Is this a power given to us since we've become home rule?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And, what, pray tell, might be the result of us adopting this?
Go ahead.
Well, the village gets a process by which PSEBA benefits are determined. Right now, the village does not have a role to play. They don't have a process. If the pension board determines that there's
anything to say about it.
that there's
Okay, so this will establish that we do have a right
A voice.
to actually
To say yea or nay. Yeah.
present evidence?
Well,
Oh.
no, they're going to be separate. This is not part of the pension board process, but it's a separate process independent of the pension board, whereby the village can has a hearing officer, an attorney hired by the village, will hear the evidence and determine whether or not PSEBA benefits are qualified.
Right.
And then when does
So,
the pension-
okay,
It's
and,
separate.
again, is this going to give us a voice that we
Yes.
don't have now?
Yes.
In the event the pension board goes like this?
If the pension board doesn't allow the village to intervene. The village doesn't have a voice, not only in the pension process, but if the decision is for
A duty disability.
duty disability, then the way the statute is written, it's an automatic PSEBA benefit. This process allows the village to independently, irrespective of the pension board process and the pension board decision, to make a determination on the PSEBA benefit. So it is
Okay,
clearly
so and this is
separated.
based on a court case that hasn't gone any further than what court?
It's a final decision, and it is,
The appellate court level or the Illinois Supreme Court?
I want to say it was the Illinois Supreme Court, but I'm checking. I apologize for appellate court. But the time, it did not go to the Supreme Court.
But it could.
No, the time is run. It's a final decision.
Really?
Final binding decision.
So it can't go to,
It's done. It's over.
Really?
The time to
well,
appeal
I
has
mean,
run.
there's a statute of limitations on something going to the Supreme Court like
Well,
that?
you have 30 days to file your appeal to the Supreme Court, and that time is long gone.
By years?
30 days.
30 days.
It's only 30. No, but how long ago was this decision made in
Over 30
Hoffman
days.
Estates? 31 days ago?
He said it was
know.
long gone.
No, I'm going to say it was 6 to 9 months ago.
Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
it's been a long time.
It was in the beginning of 2014. I can get that for you.
All right, so, this is something for the paper, so Ann Burke can't get a hold of this?
No.
Okay. Thank you. All right, hey, let's be easy here. All right, trustee Schultz.
All right, so if there's another case, though, that goes through Hoffman Estates, and they decide to appeal, and they lose at the appellate court because there is a certain amount of case law now established, but a second case could in fact be taken to the Supreme Court, right?
Well, what we have here there's basically two decisions involved. One is the procedure. Can a municipality adopt a procedure?
Right.
Yeah.
And the court has indicated that yes, it can.
Right.
Now, if we have an injury, there can still be an appeal as to whether or not it.
Well, that leads to my second question then. Did the court rule that the procedure that you have just outlined, I'm assuming is the same one that Hoffman Estates
Correct.
had in place? So did the court rule, or by omission rule, that it wasn't onerous? I mean, the cost of getting a court reporter and everything else. I want to make sure that this is about as airtight as possible, just for my own. I mean, I want to go forward with this to establish the process. I think it's a wonderful thing to do, but I'd like to know how airtight this process is.
So in the Hoffman Estates case, the Hoffman Estates Appellate Court said that a home rule community can have a process, and that Appellate Court approved that particular process that was in the Hoffman Estates ordinance. Interestingly enough, they found that he was entitled to the PSEBA benefits, but they also approved the PSEBA procedure. This ordinance that we're adopting, I would say, is 90% identical to the procedure in Hoffman Estates. There are a few pieces here and there that are what I would say a little bit more complete, because when Hoffman Estates adopted it, it was early on in the process, and
All right, so at this point in time, barring anyone going to court tomorrow that's been through a process similar to this and it getting elevated, this is the law of the land in the state of Illinois.
well, the procedure we're adopting is the law of the land in the village of Vernon Hills. The law in Illinois is that home rule communities can adopt a procedure.
Okay.
And that's what we're doing.
Okay, now, in an addendum to that, how does that affect anything pending before us?
Well, the part of this ordinance requires within, if there's a pending application filed, they have to file within 30 days. As long as a decision has not been made by the pension board. So if there's a pending matter at the pension board, the applicants have to comply with this ordinance and file an application for PSEBA benefits with the village manager within 30 days of the adoption of this ordinance. Going forward, they have 30 days from the date they file for a pension benefit to file
All right,
with the manager.
Do you know what's pending before us?
Yes, I
Okay, is that moot? Is this gonna be moot on that?
there's two pending that
Well, there's one that just came out of the box.
would apply.
This
Th-
would
This
apply.
will apply to the one that
Okay.
was just ruled on. It would also apply to the one that was
Well, it wasn't totally ruled on, it was just that we were
filed.
like,
The hearing
told we
started.
couldn't participate.
The hearing started.
The other one, Sosnowski's talking about.
No,
I'm not
no.
talking about Cisnas.
He is.
Okay, go ahead.
Both.
Okay,
It
good.
would apply to
This will apply
Sosnowski too.
Okay,
Really?
okay. But I mean the most recent one.
Yes.
Correct.
I don't know if I'm ever gonna come to one of those hearings again. I might.
It's
It was-
Interesting.
It
I
was,
can come to all of them now.
yeah, it was special.
I'll come in your stead.
You could be my proxy, for Christ's sake, you know? Okay, whatever. All right, fine. Anything else on this?
No, sir. Not unless there are other
Motion to
questions.
approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
And for the record, aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Okay, what else we got here? Is that about it?
Yep.
We gotta bring anything back tonight?
No, sir. But we will have executive session.
Okay, we're going to closed section for,
Personnel, personnel-related matters
that's it?
and litigation.
Oh, yeah, litigation, okay. All right, great,
Just a brief item on litigation. though.
okay. Is there a motion to adjourn the board meeting?
I've got a new
Oh, I'm
business
sorry.
point first.
Yeah.
I've noticed that there's just a preponderance of, I believe, illegal campaign signs in the middle of the Route 83 median and in the right-of-ways on 83 and in the right-of-ways on 45. What exactly is our policy regarding enforcement?
On 83?
Well,
Half of 83 is in our town, I guess,
Well,
north of Westmoreland.
it kind of depends, because
Yeah.
sometimes they go across the road. to the
And
annex.
45 and
I don't know
wherever.
if any of it's in our town.
You know, our policy is that if it's in the public right of way, we'll take it down.
Okay.
And then we'll notify if it seems like there's a number of signs from one campaign office, we'll notify them of what our requirements are as well. Regarding 83, we'll determine where the village's border is. It could be in the middle, or it could be on the, west side of the road. We do have some properties on the west side of the road there, so that's certainly within our corporate limits. But we'll make sure we know where our corporate limits are and follow up on the ones that we can. And I've already made note of it.
Okay.
I would say this late in the election, let freedom ring.
Thank goodness it's almost over, is all I can say.
I agree.
That's the problem, it's not, it's still 2 weeks.
I said
You know what? Let freedom ring. Okay. What else? Anything else?
Mayor, one last item in response to your question. That Hoffman Estates case was decided on March 31st of 2014.
Okay.
So the anchors.
Okay, trustee Cook.
Yeah, I just wanted to pass on to Chief, excuse me, Officer Jones, Andy Jones, working as the school resource officer in the last couple of weeks, has made presentations to both the entire faculty at Hawthorne and then last Friday night at our Snowflake a presentation to the parents, and I just wanted to pass on you. He's done an absolutely outstanding job in terms of both the information he's presented, the way he's presented it, and the timeliness of it, and it's just been outstanding presentations, and especially the one to the parents the other night. I had more comments afterwards about, what a great presentation it was, so I wanted to make sure I passed that on.
Thank you very much. He is the officer with the golden tongue.
Hey, easy there, Chief. All right, anybody else want to comment on anything? All right, is there a motion to adjourn the board meeting and go into committee of the whole?
So made.
Second.
Motion is second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Motion carries. First item is approval of the committee of the whole meeting minutes of October 7th, 2014. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Comments, questions, deletions, corrections? All right, roll call.
Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Motion carries. Council Lake County concept presentation for special use to allow the construction of an educational building by the college in Vernon Hills. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Does anybody want to come up, or
And I can give a brief summary of the
is this
report.
going to make
but-
it so brief we'll just
Yep.
say yes, or?
Almost.
Oh, okay, good. All right, fine.
The College of Lake,
How many people are here that work for the college?
There you go.
How many people are like, consultants? No. How many people are like consultants at the college? Okay.
They work for their consultant.
All right, fine. Go ahead. Go.
so the College of Lake County, represented by Leggett Architects, is proposing to construct a 2,500 square foot addition onto the College of Lake County South Lake campus. The property is zoned,
2,500 square feet?
correct.
Okay, go ahead.
In 2012, there were zoning changes to the Public and Institutional Buildings District that required that any public building erected by a governmental entity or a public school is a special use. That's the reason why they're here before you today. The new building is going to be utilized for chemistry-related coursework. It's going to be involving a chem lab, storage room, lab prep room, as well as a connection corridor to the existing building from the east. The location of the building will be on the southwest side of the existing buildings. A new concrete patio will be constructed on the western side of the addition, and the existing landscaping that you see there will also be relocated to the west of the property. Several variations will be required for the property, one of which is the building being within 25 feet of the side yard building setback, as well as within 30 feet of the required landscape buffer from an adjacent roadway. There is a chimney located on the proposed plans. It is below the maximum 35-foot building height requirement at 25 feet, but per the zoning code, it will be required to be constructed with the same masonry as the exterior of the building, effectively screening the chimney. So Leggett Architect is requesting direction from the Committee of the Whole on the appropriateness of the building addition. If the Committee of the Whole feels the use is appropriate for the proposed location, they should be directed to go before the Planning and Zoning Commission in a public hearing for a special use at a date to be determined. And they are here to answer any questions.
Okay, is there any questions from the board? Trustee Cook?
No, mine wasn't a question. This is just, mine was just a comment on it. It's I think, a well-thought-out addition, and it looks very nice how it's put on there. Being on the South Lake Advisory Board, the enrollment continues to grow there. The course offerings continue to grow at South Lake, and it's done basically exactly what we wanted to do when we, were so adamant about trying to get it here and build the new permanent buildings that are there. So I think this is just another great addition to this program. So a motion to approve this and send it on, or to send it on. They have to go to what, P&Z? Yeah,
Correct.
it's very good.
Well, this is the one in town.
Yes.
I know that. Motion is second. Any comments or questions? Trustee Schultz.
Is there any plan to ever renovate the exterior of the original building to bring it in alignment with the architecture of this new addition and the other?
Okay, that's good enough. Is that good enough?
Not really.
Well, yeah, okay. All right. Well, you don't want to take it to expand that. What are you going to do across the street where you got real land?
You're talking about where the trees are at?
Yeah.
Yeah, something that's got some meat and potatoes to it, And state your name, please, for the record.
I'm sorry. My name is Greg Evans. I'm Director of Facilities for the College of Lake County.
And what was your answer?
For the vacant land to the south of the campus,
Yeah.
we don't have plans at this time to...
How many acres is that?
There's about 5, maybe.
1, 2, couple?
Is it that much?
Maybe
Approximately
2?
6.
You think so? I bet it's every bit of that, but, so you don't want to you don't have any money to do that?
We aren't making any plans to develop that land at this time.
Okay.
Are the plans for potential business education centers that still depends upon the Capital Development Board, right? And are those still on the shelf, or?
I'm sorry, what was...
There was originally some talk of a business education center in there, but I know that had been, the Capital Development Board it wasn't on anybody's radar in terms of funding. Is that still?
I don't personally see it on my 5-year outlook.
Yeah, that's what.
Okay. All right, good. So we have a motion, second. We need to vote.
There you go.
Okay, let's vote, Lisa.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda? Aye. Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay,
Mayor, if I can make my statement, this is a concept review approval, and nothing that you've heard tonight is binding in terms of a decision. It gives you a preliminary reaction, but until all the evidence has been presented at the public hearing and back to the village board, you can't rely on this as any indication of a final decision.
but who does all the inspections in the building once it gets started? No, from any governmental agency. So it'd just be us?
Yeah.
Come on, Leggett, you ought to know this by heart.
Yeah, who inspects?
It's not the state board?
You want to come up here? I'll help you.
Grab that mic, we can't hear you.
Anybody.
Come on up to
You
the-
guys are here, you might as well charge the college, Jesus, come on. I'm trying to work with you.
Some of the minimum renovation projects that we have done at the South Lake campus, the jurisdiction was from Vernon Hills. We had the,
Is this one of them?
yes. So
Okay, well,
I'll be
I mean,
working along.
He was far away.
Yeah.
Now he's on the mic. I could
you
hear
go.
him better. Okay, but as a rule, we didn't inspect the building that's there.
The current building, I'm not sure, but the small renovations beyond that, I had the village there from when we did bathroom renovations. We had the fire marshal there for fire sprinkler adjustments. So I would think the same would
But
carry
isn't
through
there
for this
state
addition.
inspectors that really, look at schools?
Depending on the
It's
different
only if it's high
jurisdictions.
school?
Correct me if I'm wrong, that's if the capital development board is behind it, they would then have some input, and if you're doing it on your own, then they don't, correct? Yeah, that would be my, yeah. That would be my
Is that
understanding why the
accurate,
state's
Bob?
not.
I mean, I don't know. You know,
believe.
I just want to know. I mean, we're just giving them, you know.
We'll be doing the inspections then without the CDB behind this.
Okay.
Then we'll have authority.
Okay.
So we'll issue a permit and do the inspections.
Okay. It's convoluted. This is Illinois. You know, thank you. Okay. All right, fine. Well, you know, it's approved, and they have a nice night, and
Thank you.
you
Thank
guys
you.
can
You
go
get to
watch
go
the
home
Hawks
early.
or something. I don't know. You know, whatever your preference is. Okay, what's next?
Thank you.
The Oaks. That next is the Oaks.
Thank you, Your Honor. Matt Nix from Riva Development is proposing expansion of the Oaks of Vernon Hills. As you know, the Oaks opened in August of 2014, and since then it's experienced strong demand and occupancy. Responding to these market conditions, Riva Development Partners has proposed to expand the existing residential buildings onto Lot 1. That's the triangular property adjacent to Highway 45 and west of the main access drive into the Oaks. This current lot is currently zoned B1. The proposal includes a single 3-story elevator-served building with 32 apartment homes and 10 attached garages, plus an additional 53 surface parking spaces, detention, and landscaping. A parking variation will be required due to the 74 spaces being required due to our current parking requirements. The proposed building would be identical to the 8 multifamily buildings approved in ordinance 2013-34. As you see on the screen, the building is oriented to minimize the impact from Highway 45 and will have a minimum setback of 145 feet. While no specific landscape plan is included, the petitioner has stated that a series of landscaping elements and berms along 45 would be included to provide additional screening from the road. The land to the north is heavily wooded, which also will provide a buffer to the office buildings adjacent to the property. As part of the conditions of the approval of the initial ordinance granting the PUD, a traffic impact study was required for any future use of the Lot 1. That was at the time that the lot was zoned B1. However, with residential use, there is an anticipation that there will be a lighter traffic impact than any commercial property that may have gone at that location. As you notice on the screen, there is vehicular access and fire access through 2 ingress and egress, both from the north and then that adjoins the Oak Leaf Lane, and then the south exit, which is a right turn only. They proposed this location due to a belief that the fire district will look for ease of access to and from the site. However, that is an item they're willing to remove provided that the fire department has worked with them, and that's something that we can work with them through the technical review process. Should the committee of the whole provide us associated direction?
This essentially would eliminate any and all retail development there, right?
That's correct.
Okay. You can keep going, Joe.
Well, if the committee of the whole does feel this use is appropriate for the proposed location, they should be directed to go before the Planning and Zoning Commission in a public hearing at a date to be determined for both a rezoning as well as an amendment to the existing ordinance that granted the planned unit development.
Okay. Trustee Cook.
So this addition is because the market is there and, I mean, everything you've got is going that quickly? Because I think that answered one of the questions we had when this first came up was, is there really a market for this? And this answers the question.
Yeah.
Is there anybody amongst the petitioners that wants to answer any questions?
Good evening, Matt Nix of Riva Development Partners. Trustee Cook, you're exactly right. We had the 3-acre parcel. We have an option. The partnership has an option with the related affiliated entity. Based on demand, we wanted to explore this, and we opened the doors the last week in September. We've had tremendous traffic, even with very little to show. We've got 45 leases thus far, and we anticipate continued strong demand. So we think it's a good use, and we look forward to your feedback.
Does everybody that comes to the mic feel compelled not to talk that loud? As if it's like top secret stuff. Of course, Larry, you're the worst. God bless you. Okay, any questions for the petitioner here? Okay. All right, is there a motion to approve? Or to move through the concept process, and Bob will explain, right?
If the board votes favorably on the concept plan, there's nothing binding. You have to go through the process. It's indicative of your initial reaction, but nothing is binding on the board until the public hearing process and the board gets a chance to review the entire file.
Understood.
So it's a motion to direct them to go ahead and move on in the process. So made.
Second.
Motion is second. Roll call.
Trustee Hebda? Aye. Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay.
Thank
Okie
you.
dokie. All right, now, we have, what? Affordable Care Act policy that we need to talk about, and do we need to take action on this? I mean, it's kind of like federal, right?
This is federal legislation. We are seeking concurrence from the board. Included in your packet this evening was a timeline. As you know, the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, commonly referred to as the Affordable Care Act, was passed in 2010. A lot of these requirements are going into effect 2015, and we do have to prepare as soon as November 1st. Included in your packet are some key dates that are coming up. November 1st will mark the first day of a 12-month measurement period, which is required to analyze whether or not employees are eligible for health insurance coverage. Any employee that averages over 30 hours or more per week during this period will be federally eligible for health insurance coverage. Starting December 1st, the village's health insurance plan renews, and that will include the first changes in accordance with the Affordable Care Act. And those changes include the elimination of pre-existing condition clauses, caps on deductibles, and limits on maximum out-of-pocket expenditures. Starting in June 8th of next year, our definition of seasonal village employees will change from 6 months to 9 months. That's necessitated by the law. Under ACA, any seasonal employee that works in excess of 6 months is eligible for health insurance coverage. So this change will not have a budgetary impact as far as health insurance goes on the village. However, that could have an operational impact, and I suspect that our Public Works Director will be coming back during the budget process to tell you a little bit more about what that might mean for them. And lastly, January 1st, 2018, this is the big item. That's the implementation of the 40% excise tax, also commonly referred to as the Cadillac tax. The village's health insurance program does not meet the excise tax thresholds at this time. We have gone through it and verified that. However, we will have to continue to monitor that on an annual basis. There are some indications that the Cadillac tax will be tied to an indices, perhaps the CPI or something similar, so that will allow us to plan for future and give us a little bit of leeway. But that's so changes may need to be made to the plan design in the future to avoid that tax if we do start encroaching upon those limits. And the limits for the Cadillac tax are for single coverage. The value of our coverage cannot exceed $10,200, and for family, the limit is $27,500. So Right now, we are under that coverage, so we do not meet the excise tax. Staff has worked closely with the village's insurance carrier to ensure that the village is prepared to meet all the mandated requirements and deadlines. We're confident that this plan will assist us in adhering to this legislation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Trustee Schultz.
What's shown on the last page here, attachment 2, that is the actual dollars after the revised lower price you got from United Healthcare?
This is an estimate. The bottom chart that shows the Cadillac tax, these are just an estimates because we don't know in 2018 where we will stand. So we're kind of just projecting that forward.
Okay, that's not where,
we're at today.
well, no, I don't see the Cadillac. Or,
Are you looking at the memo that she placed
Yes.
at your spot?
I
Yes.
think that health insurance memo
yes.
is related to executive session. So this is separate, just the Affordable Care Act is a little separate. Great question, though.
Well, this memo is to give us the good, the bad, and the ugly that could happen going forward.
That's
you know,
correct.
under ACA. And, you know, if we have the Cadillac, you get whacked, you know, which is like, how many, what, three years out?
3 years out,
Yeah.
2018, we're looking at,
Well, we'll try not to have the Cadillac.
we will do whatever
Whoever's
it
here.
takes to try and avoid
You know.
the Cadillac tax.
Was ever here at the time, but, you know, Christ. But we're not there now.
We're not there now.
Right. And, you know. Okay. So what, do you need any action on this, or?
Just consensus from the board,
Okay.
really nothing
Does
formal.
the board have any
Yeah.
questions for this, you know, for Nikki and? He can't afford a Cadillac. Okay, and no, any other comments or questions from the board on this? Okay, fine. So nobody's got it, everybody's kind of
Staff's
understands it.
Yeah, our intention is to move forward with this with your concurrence,
Yeah.
and at
I
this
mean, you
point,
know,
I think we have that.
It's the law.
So, okay,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, now we're going to go into closed session to discuss personnel and litigation. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn the committee of the whole and go into closed session?
So made.
Second.
Motion is second, roll call.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Schwartz?
Aye.
Trustee Williams? Trustee Hebden? Aye. Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries, thank you, and good night. We won't be out here to discuss any other business.
Dave Brady. How big did you say that? Yay, leave.